Okay, everybody, welcome back to In the Pit with Jeff on his dad's P-51D Brian Taylor restoration. Just going to give you guys a quick update. Hopefully everybody has had a Merry Christmas, and going to wish you a Happy New Year, because by the time I post this, it'll be well into the new year. But just to show you some of the things that we did, we come down here, we made some aileron simulated trim tab linkages. Here, I'm going to get a little pointer. Use this here. Okay, sorry about that. Where are we? Here's me. Okay. So this is just made out of some thin litho plate bent up, and a hole drilled through for a pin, and then a pin. It's hard to do this with the hand. A pin in there to simulate a bolt. Same thing here. Bolt here. These pieces I did on the 3D printer. Right here is just a piece of brass tubing. Squeeze it down in your pliers to make it flat, and then carefully drill a hole in the end, and then I glued a pin, put a pin across. And then on the printer I tried making these on the printer, and they didn't turn out that great. So what I did was I just used the ends of it, cut the little ends off for the eyelets, and glued them on to simulate some nuts. So then we came up here, I believe last time we left off, I had a big hole for the aileron servo. I patched here, a piece of balsa wood, and then I just took some, it looks pretty crude right now. Everything in the cameras looks worse than it is, because you can zoom right into all your little boo-boos and stuff. But I ended up taking some silk span covering, and I just glued some, I just ironed on some silk span over the gaps. Then I took some polyacrylic, sealed it, and then primed it, and then just ran a quick coat of the auto body touch-up filler. We went in there, we made our blocks in there for the aileron brackets, servo brackets. I made these brackets, piece of aluminum, really quick. I cut them up, bent them, drilled the holes, glued in some plywood, and then in the bottoms just drilled a hole, put a screw in just to help hold that, and that's just epoxied. And then these will go in like that with the servo. I'm not line these up better, but I'll line this up with the thing. It'll get put in like that. Okay, coming over, we let's come over here, pass all this stuff. Here's the other one that was done for this side. I think it goes, no, it's gonna go this way, opposite, so that'll go out like that. Servo will go in there, just have to run the harnesses. Same thing, simulated aileron trim tab linkages. Came over here, my dad was missing 2 panels that went there. I just cut them out of litho plate and cyanoed them on. I removed his identification lights, drilled 7/8 holes, and then I misaligned one, so luckily I cut the cutout, glued the cutout back in with some cyano, and then re-drilled the hole and just backfilled that area. And then what'll happen is, sorry about that. What'll happen is in here, in the holes, here, we'll move this up a bit. In the holes we'll put in plastic, and each plastic light will be a different color. I forget what they're supposed to be used for. And they're just ident lights when they're coming back over England or wherever they were at. Use a different color light, just so that the people on the ground and the artillery wouldn't shoot their own guys back down. I had made up these for mine, little trim lights on the 3D printer, and it actually made the little holes and stuff in there, so that'll be pretty good ones. They'll just get glued on the outside. Sorry about that, over the lights. So I'd made 3 extras, and I did that. And my dad got me a whole pile of these, so I just been using these servo screws. These as servo screws for now. Hang on for a second. Yeah, so they're just these screws. They're just slotted. Use them up. I had a bunch of them from when he moved on. Actually, he gave me a bunch. He split up them. There was like 100, so I got 50, I believe. He got 50. I used to subscribe to the Flying Scale Models. It's an English magazine, and one of the quirks, if you got renewed your prescription, I think it was for 2 years. Might be just for 1 year. 1 year I got a whole pile of glue, which was just awesome. That kept me going for a year or so. And then this one they gave you, I think if you did it 2 years, you got this little saw, and then this package here with all these different, where are we? All these different blades in it. Blades are really fine, so you gotta be really careful. Sometimes I put the thing the wrong way, the blade and all that. But what I did use that for is we took our little boobies that we printed on the 3D printer, and it worked out pretty good because there's actually a center line came out on there. And then we took I know I was gonna show you all this stuff, but it's kind of fidgety. Took my dad's. I tried making molds off these. It didn't turn out good because I was gonna vacuum form my own or just make a mold. Actually, I can show you. It started making where is it here? But it didn't turn out that great. But anyways, and that was just gonna be heat up some plastic, poke it through. So basically we took this, where are we? Took this, kind of lined up. It was perfect because I got the silver for the top of the wing and then the invasion stripe for the bottom. Line up center lines, trace it. So you got the idea. Sitting on there. Anyways, line up center line, draw it carefully, hold on to it with your drawing, and I use this saw to cut it out. But cutting the 3D printed stuff, you gotta watch, because it still likes to kind of, even though you're just sawing it, it kind of wants to melt back together again. To do 6 guns, I broke 2 blades. So then, let's go for a walk over to the messy bench. Come over here, and we've got our. Let me take this off. These will fall out too. Take these out. You out. Sorry about that. You guys are all over the place, and girls, if you're watching. Got got the guns on. I used hot glue. Unfortunately, what happens is with the hot glue, I just put a big blob of glue, hot glue inside here, and then it also, when it hardens, it'll strengthen up that. But unfortunately, with my big fingers, I squeezed it, so it put some dents in there. But anyways, there's the guns on. They don't look too shabby. I just threw some black primer over them just to break it up. A little bit of filler around there. Like I said, when this gets all sprayed, it'll be probably 2K primer, surfacer primer, so it'll have some good filling ability in it. We'll walk down to this one. Basically, same thing. Got the guns on. And then what I'm going to do, I don't know if I showed you before. Let me take a slow walk around here so we don't all throw up at the same time. Well, here, actually I can show you a couple of things. So here's one of the aileron linkages. I also used them, I believe, on the elevator. Same thing, just bent that out some lithic plate, drilled a couple little holes in there, and away you go for that. On my dad's, I made some rubber silicone molds off of these. I believe these are for the linkages for the controls. So I just took some silicone molds off of those. I think I just used the Vaseline as a release agent. Sometimes I use the PAM spray. I got to get some mold release spray. What is that? That PVA or PV something. But these were basically my dad's. I don't know if I can see them in my hand. His barrels were just different sizes of brass tubing soldered in. I think he used like 3 different sizes maybe. But anyways, I think I'm gonna cut these off. Where are we? Sorry about that, guys. Focus. It's hard to see. Right there. But you can see I kind of stepped my guns. I had 2 sizes for my guns. But I think I'll cut those off and put brass there just to make it more realistic, even though I kind of made them hollow. Made some landing lights, or wingtip navigation lights. That was again a rubber mold, a silicone mold off of his. I'll show you his wingtip lights he had. Might as well use what we have, right? There was his wingtip lights. So I just took a silicone mold off of that and then just used 5-minute epoxy and micro balloons, make a filler. So then I heated, let's see, where's the one? Where's this one? I think I used this one. Just heated up some plastic, the heat gun, a sheet of plastic, and mounted in a little wooden frame, and just made mine for my plane, and then made a mold of his gas cap. His gas caps were like this. They're not really the scale. The real scale ones, I think, the real Mustangs are kind of flat on the top. They're not like one like that where you'd put your mitts in there and then turn it off. Actually, I think a flap lifts up and then you spin them off. So, yeah, lots of things. What else have we done? We've done the trim tabs, done the servo things. Got to make the servo covers and run the wires. Got the guns. working on the lights. They won't be functional, but I'll be use the Tamiya or Tamiya, whatever, however you guys want to pronounce it, or girls. The clear for the lenses. So that should work out pretty good. Other than that, I think we're pretty well up to speed on how this wing is coming. And yeah, just so you know, drilling those holes in. Yeah, I did one or two. I kind of poked through the top of the wing, but yeah, that's another fill-in job. As my dad said, every time you mix up some epoxy or put some filler in, you're just adding weight. But we'll just put lots of horses under it. Still don't know if I want to go electric or not, but we'll see. Other than that, everybody, have a great time, and we'll get back to you another day. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.